Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
What's up, guys? Here we have some control arms from 1aauto.com. We're going to be installing them on this 2014 Nissan Versa. Some of the things about these control arms: they have nice bushings already installed in the ball joint. These bushings generally wear out over time, and it's a good idea to replace them, but you can get them with the control arm. Get yours at 1aauto.com. We're going to pull the hubcap off. We're going to use a pry bar. You can try to grab it with your fingers and pull. It's a little tricky. Grab a pry bar or a straight blade screwdriver. Get in behind here and just pry it out. Pull it off. Next we'll take a 21mm socket and a breaker bar. We're going to crack the lug nuts free before we raise the vehicle. Yep. Now we're going to raise and support the vehicle. We're using a 2-post lift. You can use the jack and jack stands. Now I'm going to take these nuts off. Before we take any of these bolts or nuts off, we're going to spray this with some rust penetrant. And then right here as well. Next we're going to take this nut off. I'm going to use a 14mm socket and a breaker bar on this side. On the other side I have to hold the bolt, and I'm going to use a 14mm socket on a ratchet. It's coming loose. Then I can take the ratchet and take off the nut, because the bolt is just sitting there, it's not spinning. Take the nut off by hand. There's the nut. This bolt is stuck in there pretty good, so I'm going to add some more rust penetrant and let it soak for a while. Just soak this right up. All right, now we're going to try to bang this bolt out. We'll use a little punch and a hammer. It's not really moving too much. Try just tapping it with the hammer a little bit. There it goes. Now I'll use the punch again. You don't really want to hammer it all the way out with just the hammer, because you could mushroom the end and then the nut won't go on the bolt. And there's the bolt. Right, I'm going to use a pickle fork and separate the ball joint from the knuckle. You can use this. There's other ball joint tools you could use instead. And then we'll just hammer it in. tap it a little bit and it came right out. Now we're gonna loosen this bolt up. We've got an 18mm nut on top and an 18mm bolt on the bottom. I'm gonna use an 18mm socket and a breaker bar. First I'm gonna loosen it up down here, and then I will use a wrench to hold the nut. And the nut's starting to spin. So I'll put a wrench up there, 18mm wrench. So now I'll take the nut off up top. The axle might get in your way a little bit, so you can try to move the knuckle around, pull that nut out. You can just unscrew the bolt, it should come right out. Pull that bolt out. Next we're going to remove this bolt. I'm going to use a 21mm socket and a breaker bar. Now that it's a little loose, I'm going to switch to a extension and a ratchet. Now this is one of the bolts that helps hold the cradle up, but there is another bolt here, and there's another bolt up there. So it should be fine just taking this bolt out. Pull that bolt out. Then we can pull the control arm out. I'm going to take my pry bar, get in under here. Try to pry it out a little bit. And then come over here. Pry this back section out. Just like that. Here's the old control arm. Here's the new control arm from 1aauto.com. As you can see, the shapes are the same. The bushings locations are in the same. The ball joint is the same. Flip it over. Get yours at 1aauto.com and you'll be ready to rock and roll. All right, to slide this in, this back one has to slide this way. So I'm going to slide this in this area first. Get that in position. All right, so to get this to slide in a little easier, I actually went and turned the steering wheel back the other way, so the steering wheel's facing the driver's side, and that will give me a little more room over here to line this up. We can tap it in over here. We've got this hole lined up pretty good. Just going to take a Phillips head screwdriver and slide this, try to get this lined up a little better. And then make sure this one's lined up. It's pretty good, so we'll install that bolt. Slide that bolt in there, get that one started. I'm going to use a pry bar. Try to pry the control arm in a little bit. When I get it lined up, I'll just tap on the bolt. The bolt's in. I can take the nut, get that started. Now that those are both in, I'll start snugging up this back 21mm bolt. I'm using an 18mm wrench up top, 18mm socket and ratchet. Snug this bolt up. Right, now we're going to torque this back bolt to 75 foot-pounds. We actually sell these torque wrenches at 1aauto.com. Now we're going to torque this nut and bolt with the torque wrench. I'm going to use a wrench up top and torque the bolt to 111 foot-pounds. Now we're going to install the ball joint. You're going to want to be careful when you do this. You don't want to get your fingers stuck in between the ball joint and the knuckle. You use a pry bar, pry down on the control arm. We'll line the ball joint up like that. There we go. Once that's in there, we can stick our bolt back through. You may have to tap this a little bit with a hammer. So now I had to turn the steering wheel straight, so once that's straight, then I can send the bolt in there. I'm going to take a hammer, I'm just going to tap it in. Then I'm able to hammer the bolt in. Once the bolt's in, I can put the nut back on. You can snug it down and then torque it. Just use a 14mm socket and a ratchet on one side and the same on the other. 14mm socket and a ratchet to hold the bolt in. Now I'm going to use a torque wrench with my 14mm socket. I'm going to torque this down to 28 foot-pounds. Now we'll install the wheel and tire. We'll install the nuts. We'll snug them up, and then we're going to lower the vehicle and torque them. Next, we're going to torque these lug nuts with a 21mm socket and a torque wrench to 84 foot-pounds. We're going to torque these in a star pattern or a cross pattern so that it torques the wheel down evenly. We're going to install this hubcap. You want to find where the slot goes for the valve stem. Line that up. Push it on. Just tap it on like that, or you can use a rubber mallet. Whenever you're doing any kind of front-end work, whether you're replacing components or reusing components and you take it apart, it's a good idea to have your alignment checked or even performed at a local shop. That way you don't have premature tire wear.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.